welcome to Things Are Getting Strange, the Next World We Watch podcast. I'm Nick.
Aduhe ne va so baragas. I am Kim.
While we contacted the doctor to find out if Kim's having a stroke, would you like to try and explain what?
Yes, that's a greeting in the intergalactic language that was developed in the episode E.B.E. It means hello space brothers. It's very Klaatu, Barada, Nikto.
It really is, and I do have to wonder who on earth thought that was a universal language.
Well, according to the novelization of E.B.E, Freddy. Freddy believes it is.
Thanks, Freddie. I'm going to go on a limb here and suggest that most people think that mathematics is universal language.
Nope.
No, okay.
Ne va so baragas is the...
Okay. And we have some news, I seem to believe.
Yes, the last couple of weeks, if you've been listening, I've been asking you if there's anything you want me to share on the air. So specifically, it's if you've got anything on the go that's X-Files related, like any contests or conventions, which someone has contacted me on Twitter to advise they do in fact have a 30th anniversary X-Files convention planned in for next year. The convention is called FileFest 2023. It's going to be taking place on September the 7th to the 10th in Bloomington, Minnesota. There isn't a lot of information on it at present. They have said that a guest list will follow and things like that. But if you want more information on it, you can visit their website. That's filefest@offbrandevents.com. File is spelt Phile. They also have a couple of other contacts. They're on Twitter at off_brand_MSP. They're on Insta at offbrandevents_MSP, Facebook offbrandevents, and Tumblr, Off-Brand Events, all one word.
It'd be nice to say we'd go along and do a live show or a podcast from the event, but there's no way we're affording plane tickets to Minnesota.
Hey, if anyone wants to send us to Minnesota, we'll go.
Yeah, if you want us as a guest, we're willing to be paid to go to your thing.
But yeah, hope you all have a great time. If whoever contacted me on Twitter about this, if you do have any more information closer to the time, like who the guests are or anything like that, just send me a DM and I'll mention it on the show for you.
Cool. Anything else? Mauldle's still going fine as far as
Yeah, Mauldle's still going okay. We had a little chat on Twitter earlier in the week as well about who the best baddie is in Season 1. Still ongoing little debate on that at the moment, but such contenders include Brad Dourif's character Luther Lee Boggs from Beyond the Sea, Cecil Lively from Fire, and interestingly Arthur, who's the villain in Roland, who we'll get to in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, interesting choices. But he's kind of evil.
Mm-hmm. It was interesting not to pick Roland himself, I thought, but go for Arthur, who is the kind of man behind the curtain in that episode.
Yeah, that's probably fair, given the nature of everything.
But again, I guess we'll be discussing that in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, I think it's week after next.
Ah, cool.
I think. I could be wrong on that.
Mm.
But anyway, shall we get to this week's episodes?
Yep, I suppose we should.
Okay, so first up we watched Young at Heart, which was first broadcast on the 11th of February 1984. Written by Chris Carter and Scott Calfer, directed by Michael Lange. Guest stars include Jerry Hardin reprising his role as Deep Throat. Weirdly, William B. Davis, not as the Cigarette Smoking Man, but as CIA agent. Christine Estabrook, who I'm very happy to report, plays Agent Henderson, but was also in Frasier.
Finally.
She was, I can't remember which character this is, she was Lou in the episode where Frasier goes to the diner on Christmas Eve and has forgotten his wallet. And everyone clubs together to get him food because they think he's homeless.
Yeah.
She was also in American Horror Stories Murder House and Hotel as Marcy. Well, I can't for life remember who that is. And in The Usual Suspects as Dr. Plummer. Other ones are Graham Jarvis, who plays the NIH doctor, who was the bailiff in What's Up Doc, and also wound up in Star Trek The Next Generation. Robin Mosley, who played Dr. Ridley, is Chuck in Elf.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Very topical for this time of year. And Gordon Tipple, who played Joe Crandall, will appear 3 more times in The X-Files. Actually, no, he's appeared once before in The X-Files. We completely missed this because he was in Eve as a detective.
Okay.
But he'll turn up again in Humbug as Cat Helm, and Chinga as the assistant manager of the supermarket.
I remember him in Humbug, certainly.
Mulder and Scully are called into a mundane jewelry store robbery by Mulder's former FBI supervisor, Reggie Perdue. he has found a note left at the scene indicating it was written by John Barnett, a criminal who was supposedly died in prison many years before. Scully is shown tape of Barnett's capture, which Mulder participates in. Mulder did not fire on Barnett when he had the opportunity due to him holding a hostage. This decision led to both the hostage and another agent dying. Barnett's death is listed officially as a heart attack, but he had no history of heart problems and went to the infirmary due to complaints about his hand. Barnett leaves another note with photos of Mulder and Scully. Subsequently, the two of them then visit Barnett's prison and meet a fellow inmate who contradicts the official story, and that Barnett was still alive at the time. Barnett then taunts Mulder over the phone and then strangles Reggie with a strangely disfigured hand. Scully discovers that Barnett's doctor in the hospital, Dr. Ridley, had his medical license revoked for illegal experiments on children with progeria in a bid to reverse the aging process. Dr. Ridley then suddenly shows up at Scully's apartment and relates his success with Barnett and how he replaced his hand using salamander cells. Barnett has subsequently stolen all of Dr. Ridley's research, and a check with Deep Throat confirms that the US government both funded the research and is actively negotiating to buy it. Some unknown person hacks into Scully's answering machine, and she finds Barnett's fingerprint on the casing. The FBI then set up a sting at a cello recital, which was listed on Scully's answer phone, in order to capture Barnett. Barnett moves on unnoticed as a piano tuner because he has retained an entirely youthful appearance and no longer resembles any of his mugshots. He successfully shoots Scully and takes the cellist hostage. Unlike the past, Mulder does not hesitate for a second and shoots Barnett in defiance of official policy. Scully is fine as she was wearing a bulletproof vest, and the doctors fail to save Barnett despite all their effort, and his secrets go to the grave, revealed to the audience to be in a locker at a train station. Chris Carter has not got a good run after the pilot, has he?
Surprisingly not for the creator of the series.
No. And this episode, I don't know if that summary made it sound interesting, but it was really not fun to rewatch this one.
I did think that the opening sting on this episode, which I don't think you mentioned before, it was particularly threatening for this episode. I actually quite liked the sting. It begins with Barnett's prison bunkmate kind of hearing him screaming and heading to the infirmary in the prison and seeing him just kind of lying mutilated on the gurney, with the doctor then threatening him, saying, "Oh, you saw nothing." But I felt that was a kind of good build-up and something that could have been interesting going forward. I mean, it got my attention right away.
That's fair. It's just a case of it doesn't really capitalise on the weird science bit, I think. It's actually kind of incidental to what's going on. It's kind of like the whole reversing aging process. That's great as an idea for the X-Files and for why the government wants it. At the same time, though, it's kind of, without him being in disguise as a young version of himself at the end, it doesn't actually factor into anything.
It gave him a salamander hand.
It did give him a salamander hand. I do kind of like the bizarre logic here of he went to the doctor saying he has problems with his hands.
Which he did actually because Mulder shot him in it.
Yep. The doctor hacks off his hand and staples a salamander hand to it instead.
I don't think it said it's stapled.
No, I know.
It said he used the cells of a salamander, which caused him to regrow a hand. But for some reason it wasn't a human hand, it was a salamander hand.
Yeah, and so now he's got a salamander hand and he's strangling people with it, and it's not as interesting as that sounds. It must be said, it's a very slow episode as well.
Yeah, I didn't think it was as slow as Lazarus, though.
No.
I mean, that's still the yardstick that I'm measuring the episodes that just hold no tension to.
At least Lazarus gave us Scully's continued terrible taste in men.
But this episode's giving you some backstory for Mulder and a kind of indication of why Mulder doesn't follow the rules anymore. Because him following the rules as a rookie led to the deaths of 2 people.
That's true. And also, it does also give us that he has does not know how to behave in court.
Oh, it's much like, it was one of the earlier conspiracy episodes, wasn't it, where he kind of filibusters.
Yeah, I think that was when the FBI panel or something.
Yeah, where they're telling him to shut up and it's all over and he just keeps filibustering, and he does exactly the same thing in court in this episode.
Yeah, which you really not meant to do, because it tends to get you in contempt of court.
Yeah, but Barnett is the master of subtlety in this court case as well. When Perdue first mentions it and says, "Oh, as he was leaving, I heard him whisper to Mulder, 'I'll get you,' or whatever it was."
Yeah.
It's when you actually see it in the flashback, he doesn't so much whisper it as just turn around during the court session and say it to him.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the barristers on either side did not notice this. Apparently,
We can get into some of the other weirdness, like the inexplicable first mention of the note when they hand it to Mulder. And I think Mulder calls it a haiku, and that's not a haiku.
it's just a note.
It's just a note. It's not structured like a haiku. It's not written like a haiku. What are you talking about?
The notes are some of the key evidence in this, though, because it's Barnett's writing, but it's not Barnett's writing, which kind of is supposed to be your air of mystery, and I'm not sure he's got a salamander hand is the best kind of solution for that.
Yeah, that's really odd. I mean, they don't even sort of say it's a case of, yeah, he's a bit older and maybe he's having trouble with his joints or something. That's why the note isn't quite the same.
They say, well, Mulder shot him in the hand.
Yeah.
Presumably his dominant hand on the basis of this as well, which I expect would affect your handwriting. But it does a lot of the handwriting analysis and saying it's smudged in a way that's not leaving fingerprints, but he's clearly also not wearing a glove and stuff like that to build your mystery.
We've got Mulder sulking watching Little League.
It was the children, at least it's inferred it's the children of the guy he inadvertently got killed by not shooting fast enough.
Yep.
But the other weird thing about that scene, from what I recall, is that immediately when he finds one of the notes in his car?
Yes.
Which means he's left his car unlocked, despite after Phoebe Green in Fire has taught him why you don't leave your car unlocked.
Well, yeah, there is that. And also that Barnett was sat next to him at the game and he didn't recognise him because he's young.
Well, it would be because he was even younger than Barnett appeared at his trial 5 years prior.
That's true. Although I think we do have to go into the whole bit where he's doing the photo fit. So again, I don't know quite how easy this is to do, but they've got the fancy schmancy aging up the person thing, which looks plausible in this one. But then he says to the technician, he can wear in any disguise. In this case of, oh, thanks, Mulder. Goes in every variation of disguise.
And then he comes back later and says, oh, now I want to see them even younger or something like that.
And then he disguise. This case of, what? Just, all hats, all glasses, all beards.
She's never taken a vacation since.
No.
She's still there to this day, I hear. She'll come back as a villain later.
Absolutely. The other thing, I mean, even in the summaries, it doesn't read quite right, is Dr. Ridley showing up at Scully's apartment, which comes pretty much out the blue, with no forewarning and no indication of how he knows what's going on.
But everyone knows where Scully's apartment is. It's got a neon sign on the outside, I have to assume.
Yeah, okay, so Toombs found it really easily.
And now this guy has turned up on her doorstep, so I don't know how they find Scully so easily, to be honest.
I know. But Dr. Ridley showing up seems like a problem with the script again, where they kind of run themselves into a corner, and then crap, we're going to have him show up.
Mm.
He's going to die shortly, just so he can't recreate his research.
It's kind of the vague, weird science of how he's dying as well, because we've got to assume he's been experimenting on himself despite the fact progeria is a disease that affects children.
Yes.
And he's developed some kind of psychological condition which is characteristic of progeria himself, which is why he's only got 1 month to live, despite the fact he looks a bit pale but otherwise quite coherent and okay.
Yes. We also look, he does look successfully young because he looks about the same time in those old films I've got as he does in the present.
That's true.
Other pop culture instances of progeria I can think of are Blade Runner. Jeff Sebastian has progeria.
Oh, is that what Jeff Sebastian's supposed to have?
Because he's meant to be like 20, in his 20s or something in Blade Runner.
Oh, but looks at least 3 times that age.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it might be one of those things where the actor just looks older again, but that was the in-universe
explanation. He has certainly got a look, that actor. I think, kind of plays one of those characters you can buy it being in his 30s or in his 50s.
Yeah. The Doctor really comes in and outlays a whole load of really weird science and drops the US government are actively involved with this, which leads to Deep Throat's cameo. Always nice to see Jerry Howden, but it's kind of the whole, yep, they did it and they want to buy it back. In a medium in a bar feels really odd, especially when you equate that to E.B.E. Given how twitchy he is in E.B.E. about possibly being photographed by tourists, the fact he meets Mulder in a bar, I know he did it in Deep Throat as well, but he vanished almost immediately. He actively walks in, sits down, has a beer, and when Mulder leaves, he's still drinking that beer.
I will take it over Ghost in the Machine, where he meets him literally on the doorstep of the corporation.
In the episode's defense, that's not as obvious as it is in the novella. You can't tell in the actual episode that's what
he
they've
is
done.
sat on the doorstep.
Yeah.
We are very vague about why Dr. Ridley's lost his license as well. It's super vague about what this kind of experiment he's been doing entails. They compare him to Joseph Mengele
They do.
in the episode, which kind of implies that he's done something pretty horrendous. But to gain this kind of medical fountain of youth, the US government are prepared to brush all this under the carpet, essentially.
Well, we do have the sense in the episode that basically this is as E.B.E will get to it, the shadow government. This is the illegal heart of the US government rather than the actual...
But we've seen the shadow government several times before, always in connection with Deep Throat, because again, this is your Ghost in the Machine government.
That's true.
The ones that will turn a blind eye to really, really horrendous things, up to and including murder of children.
Yep. So again, that's why they're fine with it. They're going to push under the carpet.
Because it's implied as well that, well, not so much implied as outright said, that John Barnett has kind of got away with everything he has and will continue to gain immunity because he has Dr. Ridley's research.
Yes. Well, I think it's meant to be kind of analogous to Werner von Braun and co. Operation Paperclip in the 40s.
I suppose that's the closest real-world analogy that we know of.
That we know of, yeah. I think that's the kind of thing they're trying to aim for. At the same time, though, when Dr. Ridley arrives, we have that sinister choir on the soundtrack, which is almost Camino Barada, but not actually quite there.
I love the X-Files choir.
What is going on? It's meant to be a tense scene of Scully stalking someone in her apartment, and then Dr. Ridley rings on the doorbell. I did like and probably unintentional, because, these things do happen.
I wasn't amazed in this episode, but one of the things that got me is Scully is our skeptic. If Mulder said half of this crap that Dr. Ridley claimed, she would have told him where to get off. But when it's come from Dr. Ridley, a scientist, she believes it outright immediately and does not question any of it.
Yeah, well, I think that goes back into a whole deferment to authority thing, where if you are someone who holds a position of authority, she's going to believe what you say.
But he also begins by telling her that people call him names like Dr. Frankenstein, and she still believes every word he says.
I do think that's a...
And also, there's no evidence. Scully likes her posteriori evidence.
That's very true.
And he cannot provide this because Barnett's nicked it.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I mean, weirdly, this actually is something that happens in E.B.E as well, where we'll get to that in a minute, because she doesn't question much in E.B.E, does she?
But she has more evidence in E.B.E as well.
Yeah, that's true. But still, some of the conclusions, she's not disputing them as we get to the end. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. I think your funniest comment on this episode was, it's a damn good job that John Barnett did not shoot Scully in the face.
Yes!
No one ever does in these things.
But he literally, in Mulder's huge mistake, as we'll call it, even though he wasn't really a mistake, he was trying not to shoot a hostage, Barnett shot the guy in the face. It specifically says that. But with Scully, no, he aims for the flak vest in a polite manner.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think anyone was actually really concerned that she was going to die at this point. I think it seemed very unlikely.
It even comments the fact that she was at such point blank range that the flak vest almost didn't do any good either. It almost went straight through.
And to be fair, I don't think she'd have been up and around as quickly as she was. I think she would have bruised ribs at the very least and be bedbound. Because she's on her feet right away.
I must admit, we need a flak vest and a gun to test this theory out. But I did hear that they still break ribs and things like that.
It is not painless. It will save your life, but it will still do you damage. So her just popping up to sort of stare at Barnett as he's having surgery done to him, while William B. Davis, possibly playing the same character, possibly not, is shouting at him. And it's really easy to miss it's him, because you don't even see his face, you just see him bent over John Barnett shouting at him.
That was him.
That was him. That's William B. Davis.
I missed it, but I told you before, I thought I remembered him being in this episode.
But again, it's a case of, you could actually believe that's someone else entirely.
And could well be someone else entirely, given how X-Files reuses characters.
Yes.
But it does feel like it's supposed to be Cancer Man.
Well, it makes sense. And also the fact that Mulder so quickly identifies him as a CIA agent, when he's actually extremely mysterious exactly where he belongs.
I'd also like to question, based on the science we know in this episode, is Dr. Ridley tells us that this advanced cellular regeneration that's kind of euthanizing John Barnett, essentially, if to steal the word from Futurama, because I'm not sure if there's a word for making you younger. So we find out that it works because it forces the body to regulate myelin, which is what causes things like salamanders to regenerate limbs, and is also the kind of lining of your nerve endings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But because of this, he can't regenerate his eyes, because there's no myelin in the eye, so his eyes are dying. Yet he's a flipping crack shot with that gun, despite the fact it looks like he's got cataracts.
It's a very good point. I'd say it is interesting it's the devil's bargain there, but at the same time, should he be going blind that fast? Because he wasn't that old at the start.
His eyes look kind of milky when...
He cuts his hands off.
But it kind of also inferred he died on that table, so it could just be one of these kind of... I forget what you call it, but often if you have a kind of traumatic death, you gain cataracts, like if you're struck by lightning or something like that. So, maybe his eyes got damaged in this and they failed to regenerate, but either way, it doesn't seem to affect his vision at all.
No, as you said, the crack shot and the fact that he can get around, write these notes fine, and photograph Mulder quite well from a distance.
Yep. Not to mention, he fires his gun from quite some distance on a couple of occasions in this episode and things like that.
I do have to wonder as well, though, quite how he managed to do the whole pretending to be a piano tuner.
Maybe he was one once.
Well, okay,
you don't know his past.
I don't. It's true.
From what I know as well, from family members who play the piano, they're quite hard to tune, so it isn't something you could just bluff.
He doesn't care. He's going to run away before they actually get to the recital bit. We also have to go into the whole... This is a tiny glimpse of Scully's social life again. She has a cellist friend. I don't think it's the same one who she was the godparent who's part of the
Back in Jersey Devil.
In Jersey Devil, yes. I don't think it's that same friend, but I don't to bet on it either. But we know Scully has friends, and quite how long that's going to last is another debate entirely.
She clearly has friends, family, and the occasional boyfriend, whereas so far we've seen that Mulder has no one.
Occasional girlfriend. He's had a girlfriend.
And porn.
No, Phoebe. He's had Phoebe.
Oh yeah, he had Phoebe, but that was back when he was in Oxford like 10 years prior.
That's true, and yes, he has been oogling the centrefolds.
Because of all Mulder's other associates are people in places where he can use them, like anthropologists or fire experts.
And whoever the University of Maryland is running their near-death experience department, or whatever the hell he was doing.
Yeah, the near-death experience department that all major universities have.
I remember that one, yeah. I do kind of wonder, and I could make sense of it, at the end, and Wikipedia doesn't know anything either, the fact they sort of do the focus on where the locker, which has a research in it, and it's locker number 935. As far as I can tell, means absolutely nothing. If it was 1013, that's fine. If it were, I don't know, a significant number we can give it. But 935, I don't think means anything at all.
It's not like having number 42 or something.
No, or 777, 66. Some recognisable three-digit number.
Not any numerology or anything like that?
There probably is something really deep and significant to 935, but I have no idea what it is.
Anyone knows, please let me know on Twitter.
Yes, actually we'll be very interested to hear that one. Do you have anything else on this thoroughly unremarkable episode?
Let me have a look. I guess let's talk about Barnett, since I've been chatting to people on Twitter about who the best villain in the series is. Strangely, no one said Barnett yet.
He could...
Describe his personality in a sentence.
Yeah, I got that point. I was going to say, he's probably a more realistic kind of psychopath. He's not actually sort of the cinematic kind of psychopath. He's probably very mundane, and that doesn't help.
The best I could think of when I was trying to think of a good way to describe him is he's an opportunist. He knows he's untouchable because he has this revolutionary bit of science that the government will do anything for him if they can get hold of it. So therefore he can torture this FBI agent that kind of made his life miserable.
Yeah, basically.
Because he's got carte blanche because he knows no one will stop him. So he can take as long as he wants to get his revenge on Mulder.
Not really a situation you want to be in.
It's kind of small revenge as well, given that
yeah.
Ultimately, I don't think Mulder even really brought him in.
No.
He was part of a larger strike squad.
And then just sort of did impassioned pleas at the trial. Yeah.
It was more a kind of trauma for Mulder in this episode because it was the time when Mulder was young and naive and played by the rules, and because he didn't shoot when he had an opportunity because he was worried about a hostage, 2 people died.
Yeah.
Which, it's actually kind of interesting backstory for Mulder and kind of explains a little about why he cares so little about playing by the FBI's rules. But other than that, it's not really anything to do with Barnett.
No, and it's one of these revenge schemes where it's about making the person suffer, but going to such extremes where you don't touch the person you're getting revenge on.
And just occasionally give him a little phone call where you say, "Oh yeah, I was standing behind you when you were getting coffee this morning," and things like that.
Okay, so the implication, of course, is I could kill you at any point, but I won't.
It's the fatal flaw of most villains, though, is that rather than just put a bullet in the back of someone's head, you play with them until they have an opportunity to get you first.
Well, this is every Bond villain ever. No one says, handcuff James Bond to the railings and shoot him. It's always put him in the overly elaborate death trap, and I'll assume everything's gone fine. Are you going to watch? No, it's fine. I've got a gun in my room. I'll go get it. We can kill him together. It'll be fun.
Aha, Goldfinger.
You expect me to talk?
No, I expect you to die. Except you won't, because you're the hero.
He got close, though, because that was actually the whole... He didn't escape from that one. He talked his way out.
True that. Hey, I got my Bond reference too. Cello recital like the end of Living Daylights.
Oh, yeah.
There we are. Not sure it's a Bond reference I can really pull, because I'm sure cellists exist in other places.
They do, but Living Daylights was like 1991, and this is 1993, so it's not impossible someone actually is making a nod.
Suppose so. That poor cellist who never invited Scully to another recital again.
Well, I think this is the end of their friendship. Much like the end of the other friend's friendship when she, ditches nice but boring.
What nice but boring.
Can you remember his name?
He had one.
He did have one, and I realise he's only one episode and, not unimportant to the X-Files as a whole, but...
I can't remember some major characters' names. Nice but boring has no chance, I'm afraid.
That's fair. But anyway, anything else?
No, I think we've got most of them.
Cool. Also, this week was E.B.E. First broadcast on the 18th of February 1994. It was written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong, which is always a good sign so far.
It's their first conspiracy episode, too.
It is. Directed by Hannibal's psychiatrist. Wait, no, William Graham. Wait, no, that's the same guy. Yeah, Will Graham directed this episode.
Ah.
Not that Will Graham, a different Will Graham.
I would assume it wasn't the fictional Will Graham.
Well, you can never tell. Guest stars Jerry Harden once again as Deep Throat. And three significant newcomers. We have Bruce Howard as Byers, who will recur in subsequent X-Files series and spin off into the Lone Gunmen, which we'll get to. Oh, we'll get to that one.
He was also once a professional ice skater.
Yes.
Just the one thing I know about the actor.
The only thing I could find he was in was The Fly 2, of all things.
Oh, really?
He's the technician in there. We also have Dean Haglund as Langley, who was in one episode of Sliders, and in a film called Spectres, which I haven't heard of, but the character name is Dr. Halsey.
Ah.
And finally, for this trio, we have Tom Braidwood, who plays Thorhicky, who probably not seen anything outside Lone Gunmen, but he is actually the assistant director on the series and is for the first 5 series of the X-Files.
We've also seen his name in a couple of places so far.
Yes, and we see it again in this episode. Tom Braidwood is going to be used as a fake ID for Mulder.
I think it was something like Shadows we saw him previously. It was a name on a parking space that was being covered over.
It was, yes, that was it. That was it. And finally, we have Peter LaCroix, who played Ranheim or Frank Druce, depending on what point in the episode you are. He's another of our X-Files recurring people. He will turn up in Ascension as Dwight, and then will turn up much later in Unrequited as Nathaniel Teager.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen the last of Frank Druce.
Our episode opens this time quite surprisingly in Iraq, specifically in an Iraqi fighter jet, which shoots down a UFO after he sees bright lights in the air. This is then apparently reclaimed by some American troops that are on the border of Turkey. The opening sting then cuts to Tennessee with Ranheim, the truck driver, who is driving down the road and is quite tired. He swerves to avoid something and stops his truck, and then goes to check in the back. We don't see what he sees, but he draws his gun and begins shooting at something. The next day, Mulder and Scully are investigating the truck. Mulder does his UFO tricks, including starting off 2 stopwatches at the same time. Scully's keen to write off what Ranheim has seen as being swamp gas from the marshes nearby, but Mulder shows that his watches have started showing different times, therefore indicating there's some element of lost time and other UFO activity. They interview Ranheim, who's showing a number of flu-like symptoms, which Scully believes could be a sign of the Gulf War syndrome. They can't get anything out of him, however. The local authorities prove to be uncooperative, and they let Ranheim go before Mulder can get anything kind of consequential from him. As they are leaving, there is another random event where Mulder and Scully are discussing what is going on, and a woman asks Scully to borrow her pen. It doesn't really mean anything at this point, but bear that in mind for slightly later in the episode. The Mulder and Scully return to Washington, D.C., where Mulder introduces them to some of his contacts, a group of men who write a newspaper called the Lone Gunmen. They are incredibly eccentric and paranoid conspiracy theorists who really exist to make Mulder seem a lot more plausible. Scully, in particular, is not taken by the three of them. Langley, Frohickey, and Byers are all very different sort of nerds, but all equally paranoid. The Lone Gunmen also, when Mulder expresses his understanding of what's going on, even then they claim that Mulder's theories that aliens are somehow causing Gulf War syndrome is far too much for them. As they are leaving, Scully does examine her pen, which has stopped working, and she discovers that there is a surveillance device hidden within it, which immediately makes even Scully realise that there is something more sinister going on. Mulder contacts Deep Throat and arranges a meeting. Deep Throat provides him with a document, which is apparently an intercepted Iraqi transmission, which explains about the downed UFO. Scully also continues to investigate the truck, and she learns that at a weighing station that Ranheim passed through, it showed that the truck was weighing a couple of £1,000 more than it should have been. She also learns that Ranheim isn't who he claimed to be, he's actually a man called Frank Druce. For the first time, Mulder and Scully actually discuss Deep Throat, with Mulder admitting vaguely who his informant is. Scully points out the fact that Mulder is sometimes a bit too keen to trust people, and she herself doubts that Deep Throat is actually being honest with him. Mulder plans to track down Druce in his truck, but before he can leave, Deep Throat approaches him again, this time in his own apartment. He offers a photo of a reported UFO sighting at a place called Fort Benning. Mulder initially starts believing that Druce is a complete red herring and instead wants to look into this photograph. However, Scully immediately notices that the photograph is a fake, something that Mulder, when he's forced to look at this further, actually has to agree with her, and he realises that Deep Throat has been lying to him. Mulder contacts Deep Throat again and accuses him of lying. Deep Throat admits that the photograph is faked. It was something he had knocked up by supposedly his best people. However, everything else Deep Throat has told him is truthful, because a lie is more convincing if you surround it by truths. He has only started lying to Mulder now to try and knock him off the scent, because Mulder is onto something that Deep Throat doesn't feel can be revealed at this time. Mulder and Scully both do their best to evade their pursuers by departing from different airports and covering their tracks. They pursue the truck, but then there is a kind of strange phenomenon surrounding it that causes the truck to stall, and when they check into it, both the driver and the E.B.E have vanished from inside. Mulder then does his usual UFO checks of the area and discovers that the encounter is all faked, evidently again to convince them to cease any kind of further investigations. With the help of NICAP and MUFON, Mulder manages to track Druce and the E.B.E to a power plant in Washington. The Lone Gunmen help him out, hacking into the system to give them fake ID passes that will get them to everywhere except the maximum security level. Once inside, the two are quickly discovered by guards, but Mulder manages to give them the slip and run to an area where the E.B.E is fortunately being held. However, as he gets there, he's stopped by armed guards, Deep Throat being among them. Deep Throat tells all the other guards to leave and reveals to Mulder that he's too late. The E.B.E has been killed, and this is a nationwide protocol that is supposed to occur if any major nation gets hold of an extraterrestrial. Deep Throat himself reveals to be one of only 3 people who has ever actually killed one of these entities. Mulder suspects that Deep Throat now is not being honest with him, though he doesn't understand enough to kind of know how deep this lie goes or what exactly it is. The episode ends as Deep Throat lets Mulder and Scully walk free.
Thank you. Like I say again, this is I really liked this episode. Really good episode. Just some finicky stuff in it that doesn't make any sense.
It's a conspiracy. It's not supposed to make sense.
It's not meant to make sense, but I mean, I think we can start from the start of. I know one of the things they wanted to do was this whole. You've got the truck driving across the country with contraband inside it, something that no one else can know it's there. This is the same thing that Ocean's 12 did with the Fabergé egg isn't going through the armored car; it's going on someone's backpack on the train.
It's the fact that it's always easier to hide something when it's going by ground.
Yeah, and I get the appeal of that. It's great if the saucer had come, well, if the ship had come down in the United States, because otherwise you have this crash in Turkey, you have ferried it by sea or by plane to the United States and then put it in a truck. I realise you might not be able to fly it across the United States because the UFOs are buzzing around, but quite why the UFOs couldn't intercept them by air or sea prior to them getting to the States is a bit unclear. Also, the cutting of the cold opening is really weird. Because he's driving the truck, the UFO's coming overhead, his radio goes weird.
Mm-hmm.
He gets on the truck, the doors at the back of his truck fly open, and then he starts blasting his shotgun. And it's not clear, he's not shooting into the truck, he's shooting at something else.
Interestingly, this is another one that has a middle grade novel. Again, it's written by Les Martin, who did Pilot and I think Ghost in the Machine.
Yeah.
The Les Martin novels are kind of more interesting than some of the others because I'm pretty sure he's either given more carte blanche than the other writers or he's working off an earlier script. But in this one, he is actually firing into the truck.
Is he? Okay.
He opens the back doors of the truck and there's something with yellow eyes kind of crouched in there and he starts shooting at it. Which again doesn't really make sense for later, but it specifically does open to him attacking something inside his truck.
Okay, well, because we've got what could be alien blood on the ground, which we never get an explanation of what that was, that with crystalline stuff.
Yeah.
Which we assume is the result of him shooting at an alien. Well, their fancy-schmancy time-stop stuff isn't working here for some reason.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
You're assuming it's the same alien.
I am, it's true.
We have nothing to say that this is the Vauxhall Transporter aliens.
It wasn't the Vauxhall Transporter that did time stop, that was the pilot ones who did time stops.
That's the pilot ones that do
they
time
did time
stops.
Stop. Yeah.
The Vauxhall Transporter one is the one that sets everything on fire.
Yeah.
I assumed we had our Vauxhall Transporter alien because it's giving people rashes like it did in Conduit and Deep Throat previously.
Yes. Although it's very saucer-shaped, the bit we can see of it over the tree line.
Yes, I suppose. Oh, I forgot to mention that in my thing, actually. You do get a very brief glimpse of it.
Yeah,
and there are also reports of more UFO sightings across the country, which it doesn't really get into that much, but it's the inference that the aliens might be following their injured comrade.
Yeah. So is our first actual UFO sighting. But again, that comes back to the whole... I understand the appeal of the episode is them smuggling that thing. But that works if it's being hidden from everyday folk, which it is. But you also have to deal with the entity which has technology beyond your comprehension can't hijack a truck that's travelling through the backwoods where UFO abductions, happen in a lot of stories.
Again, we don't know which alien this is, and I'm still assuming there are some different ones because of contradictions. Is the aliens can't possess Frank Druce apparently either?
No, they can't time stop him. They can't teleport their comrade out.
They can show mild annoyance by hovering over his truck.
They can, and also by going down on foot in person, apparently unarmed and being shot. But it's but the whole they must have time stop because Mulder's stopwatch thing proves there's some weird phenomenon in the area.
I still don't get entirely how the time stop works because it's incredibly localized as well.
It seems to be more like a kind of a haunted house ghost kind of thing, where he leaves one outside the area, walks into the area where things happen.
How do you determine where the area begins?
Oh, I don't know. He just does. This is Mulder. But yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all. But I like the concept. It's just the execution is weird.
I think it's a really good episode.
It is a really good episode. It's
the first time where kind of Scully fully understands how deep these conspiracies go.
Yes. There's also the offhand mention of Lake Okoboji.
I think it is supposed to be a real-world UFO hotspot, Lake Okoboji, which is presumably why it keeps getting name dropped.
Yeah, but I have a horrible feeling that Morgan and Wong didn't remember that when they wrote this episode and just ignored that Conduit happened at all. Because Conduit should be a good touchstone for this for Mulder.
You also got a few references in there because Scully herself hits on the fact that this might not be a UFO sighting, it might be an experimental aircraft, which kind of takes us back to Deep Throat as well.
It does.
In which, Scully was perfectly willing to accept experimental aircrafts because they don't have to be UFO related, it's just high technology that the government doesn't want people to know about.
Indeed. I mean, the other interesting point, I think we did touch on it before, is that Scully does not require a lot of persuading that something's happening. I don't know, it's not clear if she actually buys into what Mulder's saying, but she realises that something is being covered up and being obscured from them.
She's also, because she's that stage removed and isn't as trusting as Mulder, can see the fact that Deep Throat is not honest.
Yes. But we can't talk about the fake photo then. So how bad is that fake photo that he left that many errors?
I love the fact that Deep Throat specifically said his best guys made it as well, but Scully with a magnifying glass finds two mistakes in like a second looking at this.
And then it takes the analysis of the FBI to find out the moon is the wrong phase of the moon in two different parts of the picture.
It's basically a spot the difference picture.
This is your best person.
And Scully just takes one look at it and says that shadow's in the wrong place.
The thing is, you could buy it if Deep Throat genuinely wanted them to dismiss the photo and go chasing the truck, but that's not how the episode presents it, so I don't understand why it's so bad.
I'm not sure how they faked up the what they do with the truck halfway through the episode as well either. How they have managed to evaporate a driver from this truck in a flash of light.
I'm guessing they're going to sort of pretend it's part of the whatever technology they have in Deep Throat. They've got some system that can mimic it.
They can do a bright flash of light and apparently teleport things, though.
Yes, all these sort of... It's not clear if they actually have managed to sort of not stop time, but they've managed to knock Mulder and Scully unconscious briefly or something and depowered everything. So the people can come in and grab things. It isn't clear how they managed to transport everything subsequently. Was that a truck, or was that a spaceship, or was that a helicopter? What came in and took it? And again, why didn't they bring Deep Throat to the truck and have him shoot it in the head now?
I believe we've got a kind of problem in these conspiracy episodes now, and it's a problem that's been brought in by Deep Throat, is the government has the power to erase Mulder and Scully's memories.
Yep.
You don't need to fake up this big hoax for it. Which is possibly the flaw with we've created this mind control drug in Deep Throat and now we need to make viewers forget about it pretty quick.
Yeah, it never happened.
Because it could resolve all government problems. You don't need any subterfuge because you can just wipe people's minds.
Yep. I do also have to say the truck driver, he's meant to be safeguarding this alien and taking it off to be killed. I'm still going to go with the whole, guys, I'm sure there's easy ways of doing this. If you're going to drag an alien body across the country, you could have left it in Turkey and shot it there.
True that.
But also the fact, though, that Mulder says his story changes in the police interrogation overnight. He says he saw a cigar-shaped UFO the night before.
Which he did.
And then in the interview in the morning, he says it's saucer-shaped.
Huh.
But also, this guy knows exactly what he's carrying, knows exactly what's pursuing him. Why is he reporting UFO stuff to the authorities and not giving the Scully's cover story of a mountain lion? He's drawn attention to the fact he's carrying an alien.
Well, he's not very well.
He's not.
He's got the flu, he's not thinking right.
He's got Gulf War syndrome. Or whatever he has.
I feel more the radiation sickness that they had in Fallen Angel and, not Conduit, Deep Throat.
Deep Throat. We have got a similar thing to... Not so much Conduit, I suppose it's kind of like Conduit, kind of like Pilot, but a bit removed again is the whole police... let him go. We're not going to say any more of this. Sorry to detain you. Just get out. The whole sort of pressure from on high is interesting. But I'm gonna fixate on the truck for a bit.
Go on, you fixate on the truck, then.
I think it's one of these episodes. It feels like it's changed halfway through, or it's a misleading thing that doesn't pay off properly. Because we've got this whole thing where we don't know what's in the truck at first. And Mulder comes to the conclusion they are hauling wreckage from the crashed saucer. Well, the crashed ship. We don't know what shape it is. Because it was light in the sky. That was shot down. Which, the aliens are all powerful until you fire missiles at them.
To be fair, that would knock down most things.
It would knock down most things. But again, people who can stop time you'd think would be less vulnerable to being shot by missiles. And also, buzzing the Iraqi Air Force.
We don't know these ones can stop time.
These ones can stop time.
No, they create the weird glitch.
Okay, they cause a time dilation or something. Okay. But anyway, so we think the thing is hauling wreckage. And then Scully goes to the whole thing of the truck is 2,000 pounds heavier than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. That's very heavy, isn't it? 2,000 pounds?
2,000 pounds. Yes, it would be incredibly heavy.
Incredibly heavy.
It's a couple of tons heavier than it would be.
Yeah. So the point is that kind of boy bears out it should be wreckage in the truck. So when we actually get to see inside the truck, there are some boxes which have heavyish stuff in them, loads of empty cardboard boxes.
That's the hoax truck, though.
It's the truck after they've taken the body away, though, because that's actually meant to...
I got the impression the body's never been in that truck. That's a decoy.
Okay.
We've had Mulder and Scully following. Mulder then gets to witness an abduction. It's supposed to throw him off scent because he'll think that the body's been beamed up, but it was never there.
Okay. We should probably map out the route he took as well, though. What's he doing? We like the Lone Gunmen. As you said, they're sort of there to make Mulder look better? Credible. They do also keep spouting conspiracy theories. They don't seem to have much interest in the alien side of things, do they?
No, Langley pretty much meets him with Grassy Knoll JFK conspiracy as he comes through the door to begin with. They seem to be more government conspiracy.
Yeah, I would be curious. Ever pick up on the whole I had breakfast with the guy who shot JFK?
I absolutely love the Lone Gunmen as characters in the X-Files. I think they provide a kind of good deal of comic levity to the plot. So the thing that entertained me most is that the day before we watched this episode again, I read the novelization and was kind of surprised that if you haven't seen the X-Files, you get a very different feel of what the Lone Gunmen are like. Which, for the first time on this show, I am going to actually share with you some passages from this that portray the Lone Gunmen as just kind of being seedy and a bit bitchy, I think is the best to go. Mulder cut in smoothly. "Scully, this is Byers. Pleased to meet you," Scully said, extending her hand. Byers ignored it. "So this is your partner?" he said to Mulder. "I can see why you told her she was a skeptic." And on the other side of the coin, we have Frohickey. Lovable Frohickey, who is the sexual predator of the novel, I think. "It's good to know that our national security is in your hands," agreed Langley. "And those of your lovely partner," said Frohickey. He got up from his chair and went to Scully. "Let's discuss threats to the country over coffee sometime." "Any time." "Sorry, but my schedule's kind of full," she said, backing towards the door. They don't seem quite as quirky and charming in the young adult adaptation.
No, they do seem a lot more threatening and standoffishness.
You do get some of the weirdness of Byers removing the metallic strip from Scully's $20 bill to show how the government could track her. And I will give the novel that as well, as that does actually come back in the novel.
Okay.
It's much later when Scully is trying to cover her tracks when they're buying the plane tickets, is Scully remembers Byers telling her about this and kind of starts to have the paranoid feeling, the fact that no matter what she does, it might not be enough if the government can really track them that easily. So it's kind of the showing that, more so in the novel than the episode, but that even Scully is starting to realise how deep the conspiracy runs and how it can literally affect anything, and these people can just get you wherever you are.
I thought it was also interesting that Scully dismisses the metal strip as the anti-counterfeiting thing, and noting other countries do it, because I don't know if our banknotes still do, because
yeah, they still have the metal strip on them. It's visible though.
Yeah,
the American one.
but they made the point in that one of it's visible on the outside as an anti-counterfeiting thing, whereas in the US currency it's hidden.
I know on UK bills the major anti-counterfeiting thing is the watermark.
Yes. Also, it's made of weird plasticky stuff these days.
Yeah, but it's things like if you hold certain bills up to the light, you can see a watermark through them, and that's their anti-counterfeiting measure.
Yep.
That the fake ones don't tend to have the watermark.
We do also learn in this episode that Deep Throat inexplicably is a fan of baseball.
I think most Americans are.
Well, that's true. But again, coming back to my point in Young at Heart, is he is really paranoid when they meet and there's tourists nearby taking photos. He sort of hunches over and tries to hide his face. Because what Deep Throat, you've strolled on in public with this man before.
But I love the scene where they meet in the aquarium.
Oh, that's later, with the sharks.
The symbolism with the sharks is brilliant, but also it feels like the kind of place you'd have your clandestine meeting, is in the dark aquarium, there's no one else around, it's just the two of them standing 3 foot apart talking. It's impressive, it's dramatic, it's really well shot.
It is. I'm not disputing any of this. You have to keep swimming or you'll die like a shark.
It is a good episode, you know, Nick.
I didn't say it wasn't a good episode. It's nice and tense. I just
Picking faults at everything in it. What's probably the best conspiracy episode we've had so far.
Yes.
And really, I think should have been a season ending because it feels like it should be.
Indeed. No dispute. I relayed to you my concern at the time, which is a case of you've had to fly or ship the wreckage into the country in the first place, or the alien body into the country in the first place. You could have killed it before. Other than, well, we do have this interesting detail that Deep Throat is apparently one of 3 people who's ever done this. Which sounds kind of cool, but until you get to the whole, does it actually require, does it require specialist methods? Is that why they had to bring it into the country?
It's true that we don't actually know anything about the biology of these creatures, because we haven't even really seen one that clearly.
I don't think we've seen one at all, really.
Genderbender.
Okay, we haven't seen...
And you've seen the invisible one, the kind of heat scope one.
While you're dismissing the truck as being a real thing, we see the interior of that place they're going in the power plant. And it's basically a table, isn't it? An operating table. So we've got the sense they are probably the grey aliens from popular culture. They're just a humanoid.
There's nothing to say they're even humanoid. You know they're about the size of a human.
True, but
there's nothing to say they're humanoid or any other features about them.
True, it gives the impression that at least it's humanoid, because it's all using our medical technology in this transporting thing, rather than some kind of weird container.
But you would have our level of medical kind of technology to transport it. That's what we have as humans.
So I'm not sure why they're transporting it.
You're not going to have the Geiger chamber.
Oh, but we could have the Geiger chamber.
Where you look and it's all kind of biomechanical inside. X-Files isn't that kind of series.
I'm wondering now if it's not that kind of series, or they didn't have the budget for that kind of series. I think it could be more interesting if they did have that. Oh, I did think as well, Mulder has single-minded pursuit of the truth. But when he and Scully are pursuing the truck after they've been to Las Vegas and sort of found it again, Mulder dozes off. Because isn't this your guiding passion, Mulder? Shouldn't you be want to see every bit of this? But he just falls asleep. And as you said, if you don't remember that American Cars the opposite way around, Mulder is driving while sleeping.
Yeah, I must admit, I did think he was driving when I saw that shot, but then remembered American Cars are the other way around. I suppose you could argue that it's a long trip and they don't know how long it's going to be, so you take it in turns to sleep.
Exactly. I imagine that's what they're going for. But it's all those whole Mulder kind of excitement, champing at the bit. The truth is out there, but so are the lies kind of thing.
That's Scully's line.
I know Scully's line, but in fact,
I think that's a really good line as well, as it's showing kind of growth in Scully's character. As Scully is now accepting that there is a truth out there that she doesn't know, but she's not willing to accept everything. Which is also kind of reflecting when Mulder told her previously, oh, you should only believe things if it is the truth.
Yes.
Scully is actually doing that now.
Yes. I was saying, it is interesting as well, though, that as soon as Mulder starts asserting it's an actual living alien that they're transporting, she didn't say anything.
There's not really anything to protest, though, is there? I mean, the evidence stands.
I suppose so. Though I think at some point you'd sort of say, you sure about this? Not just someone who's been affected by it and might be injured. We could be, because the whole stretch is set up, because we could be transferring a critical care person who's been infected by some kind of biological weapon from Iraq. Would be a rationalist kind of response.
But Scully's also seen the other side of that as well. I'm still championing her development from Fallen Angel, where Scully believed in that it was not a biological, a nuclear agent, and it was proved to be wrong over the course of the episode.
True. Yeah, I think we should actually get Scully to sit down and say, Scully, what do you think happened in Fallen Angel?
But Scully knows it wasn't what she thought. It wasn't the fallout from a nuclear weapon.
No. But she's also not quite ready to believe in aliens, or didn't seem like she was willing to believe in aliens.
I don't think it's not that she's not willing to believe, it's the fact that she needs that hard evidence.
Yeah.
No one has shown her an alien yet, therefore she doesn't believe.
No. I suppose it does match Pilot, where she will buy into this mindset very quickly if she's sort of sufficiently embroiled in it.
But Scully said it many times before, is Scully will believe in the truth if it's proven to her to be true, and Scully is always on the side of the victims. So, following her credo, it makes sense the fact that she wouldn't protest this. She knows there's a conspiracy, she doesn't know exactly what is at the core of it, but it's something that the government wants sufficiently hidden. it doesn't really matter that Mulder believes it's an alien. What it is doesn't matter. She knows there's something.
I think we do have to talk then. The level of government surveillance in this one does strain credibility a little bit.
What, all the bugs?
All the bugs. I mean, I'm specifically thinking of they go to the rent-a-car place. Lady next to her asked to borrow her pen. I watched her afterwards as well, though, to check what she's doing. She's literally a mother with 2 kids. It's a case of...
Yeah, it mentions that she has kids in the book as well.
The level of covert operations I felt was a bit weird. I mean, you do get in other things where people have prepared ahead of time the bugged version of something because they found exactly the right model of whatever.
Scully is specifically using a fountain pen as well, so it's something that you could quickly dismantle and put that in.
Yeah. The bug in Mulder's apartment, though, is in this plug socket, which doesn't seem like it's the best surveillance thing.
In movies, you usually see people putting them in light fittings.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's always got me about this scene, and I understand that people are going to dismiss this one of it, is Mulder unscrews the plug socket. Whoever's listened to this, they're not going to say, there's a lot of rumbling coming from the bug, like literally from the bug. What is he doing? Oh shit, he's unscrewing the plug socket cover.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose he would be able to hear it.
Yeah. And apparently they just buy that Mulder and Scully have decided they're going to go do something else instead. I mean, Mulder, I hope you're going to pull that thing out and destroy it, or it's going to have been removed mysteriously in between the scenes. He just trashes the apartment looking for this bug. The Lone Gunmen, though, we've got the sense that they are hackers to a degree, which wasn't actually clear at the start, but is clear at the end. Given they've managed to get them access to this power plant, which has level access for which bits of it you're allowed to go to.
Though that is actually an active power plant that they're filming in the episode too.
It's a weird choice.
I've got to admit, the power plant where I did my work experience in school was a gas plant. So that was a hydroelectric plant, I think, by the look of it. So they are a different animal.
Do you have to wonder why the government is working out of a power plant?
I presume it's supposed to be a disused power plant in the episode, that's their cover, is this is a hydroelectric power station, oh no, danger of death signs. But in actuality, it's a hidden lab. Yeah,
instead of just Area 51, another base, no one would ever know. Kind of amusing how quickly Scully gives up on the deception when they get found. Because they walk past one guard and say, okay, we'll go this way. Damn it, the doors were open. Cole, can you come with me? Let's give up Mulder. It's like, Scully, just pretend for a bit longer.
It feels like a dangerous place to give up as well, given that we've seen how dangerous the government are around these conspiracies in Deep Throat again, in Fallen Angel and stuff like that. There's nothing to say that this guy isn't going to just shoot the two of them.
Yes. Yes. Well, again, I think it comes back to that Scully still trusts authority, even if she will admit they're spying on her. She's not going to fight back, per se, is she? She's going to try and hide from it, but if it confronted with it face to face, she'll give in to it at the moment. Before Deep Throat turns up to save the day, and as you said, Mulder has also said, it's like, how many lies has Deep Throat just told in the span of a few minutes?
We got no way of knowing.
We don't. I mean, we kind of have to take it as read that the alien creature was real. Because this is a level of effort they're putting in that we haven't had before.
We should probably noted earlier as well that E.B.E means extraterrestrial biological entity. I don't think we've said that.
No, we didn't actually say that. I don't know, what do we make of the difference between this and Fallen Angel? Fallen Angel was pursuit of a downed craft and an escaped pilot. This is one they've got contained.
But is presumably injured because it makes no attempt to get away.
No, and the other aliens are desperate to get it back. Which actually that does chime at least with Fallen Angel in the trying to recover.
They don't seem to be trying to recover it even though. They are just following and waiting for an opportunity, I presume.
Yeah. And again, we've got there's more UFO sightings around this truck than there have been for ages.
They only followed the truck for a while, though. Then they seem to be following it to the power plant.
I was about to say.
Which, again, is another point in my favour if it's not in the truck.
Okay, that is a point in favour. That when they pick it up after Las Vegas, they don't see any alien sightings at all, and they're all clustered somewhere else.
Particularly before they go into the power plant, you see this kind of like a party outside where people have noted there were UFO sightings and they're waiting to see if there are any more.
That's true. Although, again, I suppose it's just come into the whole, how do the aliens know that it's dead? Do they, like, put it on the roof or something for them to pick up?
I presume they have some way of sensing their companion. These aliens, if it is the same ones we've seen previously, are capable of possessing people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they must have some kind of, like, psychic power.
I think one point is Deep Throat's, if we take Deep Throat as word that he's killed aliens before and he's one of 3 people who's done it, and there's this international agreement that they must all be destroyed if found on Earth, that does at least tally with Fallen Angel for, yeah, that's what they were trying to do. At the same time, it's a very different feel from Deep Throat, which was, we've got the wreckage from Roswell and we're using it to build stuff. And now it's a case of, we know, Fallen Angel implies that we do know there are crashes in the past and we have to deal with them. I suppose, is it an indictment of the American government or the pastiche or the spoofing of them, that their reaction seems to be not trying to communicate with this group of extraterrestrial beings, but if they're found on Earth, they're dead.
I'm going to be jaded again and point out American government.
Yes. That's what I'm getting, yeah. So is it all tying into that mindset of, yep.
They're interested in the technology, they're not interested in the people.
No.
It's your weapons of mass destruction in Iraq sort of mentality.
Yeah. But then Gender Bender also indicated that the aliens don't understand humans either, because we've got the anthropological implications of Brother Marty.
We don't know those are the same aliens, though, and it seems likely that they're not.
We'll have a tally at some point of how many different species there are in this series.
I reckon we're up to about 3.
Yeah, 3 sounds about right. It's just unusual, actually, because usually you get 1. But no, we have 3. I'm wondering about Deep Throat, though, at the end, though, as well, when he says to Mulder, he stops Mulder from going up to the window and says, it's pointless to look at it, it's already dead. And I know this is kind of a deterrent thing for Mulder, but it's a case of, it's a weird deterrent because a dead alien body is about as useful to Mulder's cause as a living one. It's the proof of existence more than anything else, isn't it? Because like the Roswell autopsy tape, it doesn't matter if it's dead, the fact that you've got it on tape, even if that was a very...
I think that's your argument, is it's a lot easier to say that something's not a hoax if it's alive.
Indeed. But still, Mulder isn't going to care it's dead, because of course he walks up the window and looks in anyway. But it's still a weird thing to say rather than just let him walk up to the window. Is it the whole Deep Throat is trying to see the level of control he still has over Mulder?
I think that it's possibly reading Deep Throat harsher than he should be there, because I think that Deep Throat is largely on the level still.
Oh yeah, I think it's borne out by his behaviour elsewhere, is that he's not...
I think Deep Throat understands rather than Mulder that he's got to play a long game. Is Mulder wants these answers, he wants them now, and he wants them revealed to the world.
That's true.
But Deep Throat is playing the longer game. He even says at the end that his hope is that one day the truth will be known through Mulder.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be that whole, here Mulder, here are all the answers, now publish them now. Is Deep Throat understands that there's a game to be played.
I suppose, so is that he's trying to see if Mulder can actually understand the rules at this point, is what he's trying to do.
And also that he's got to try and keep Mulder alive until that point.
Yeah.
Is that if Mulder's going to do something that Deep Throat can't protect him from, they're just going to kill Mulder.
Yeah.
Like in this one and in Fallen Angel previously, where Deep Throat tries to keep him away from things.
To be fair, Deep Throat sent him right into Fallen Angel, because he said you've got 3 days before the Kingdom crew arrive. So they wasn't that protective in that one. But he did protect him at the end, admittedly.
And he has tried to ward him off other ones where he can't help as well, like Ghost in the Machine.
True. Did he actually try to ward him off in the Ghost in the Machine?
He told him what was going on, but also told him he could do nothing to save Volchek.
Yeah, I suppose so. But it's just in this one, it's a case of, Mulder, are you willing to prepare? Are you going to play the grown-up game, where we have to take things slowly, or are you going to look in the window? And Mulder looks in the window. I mean, does that disappoint Deep Throat? He's going to realise you have to take a step back and be even slower with Mulder than he was planning on being.
But Mulder is more of a loose cannon than he was anticipating.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it'll be waiting for his next appearance. So it'll be interesting to see if his attitude has shifted because of this episode.
He could appear again. Deep Throat has already appeared more than I remember appearing, to be honest.
Young at Heart was surprised. Goes, what the hell are you doing in this one?
And Ghost in the Machine as well.
I think I vaguely remembered he was a Ghost in the Machine, but yeah, not this one. Not Young at Heart. Sorry.
You associate him with the conspiracy episodes, though, and you kind of are quite surprised when he shows up outside of that.
Yes. I would say as well, though, for Scully not being able to see anything, it's obvious, yes, she doesn't chase Mulder into the heart of the power plant. But she's not even allowed to see Deep Throat, because he's way off into the fog before she gets there.
It's the closest she's gotten, though.
It is. It's good. Oh, look, there's my informant. Can you introduce us? No.
That was kind of interesting as well, as we debated in one of the earlier episodes exactly how they contact Deep Throat, because it's very unclear.
Oh, yeah, it's...
Yes, I found out it's kind of a Morse code on the phone, is that it makes it clear in the novels anyway that when Mulder picks up, that clicking on the other side is some sort of code that Mulder can... It might not be Morse code, but it will tell Mulder exactly the location and time he needs to go to.
Okay. That makes more sense than is ever explained in the series.
Yeah, you kind of hear it more in this episode, though, when he picks up the handset and you hear clicking.
Yeah. I do think it's a bit odd that to contact Deep Throat, a lot of it is Deep Throat will come to him before he knows he needs him. In this one, it's a case of, I'm going to shine a blue light out my apartment window until you show up.
I thought it was interesting that Deep Throat actually appears in the apartment knowing it's bugged as well. He must be confident that he's got some level of control that makes him untouchable to a degree.
Or he's actively the person who put the bug in there in the first place.
He claims he isn't, though.
He claims he isn't, but all lies were truths. We can't actually...
Though, to be fair, he tells Mulder it's there, which kind of, again, infers that
that's true.
He's not the person who's put it there. Because if you had a need for it, you wouldn't tell Mulder it was there.
True, unless it's him in his tenuous... Because he's a double agent, so it's his tenuous grasp of... He's playing along the whole, I will give Mulder this fake evidence, knowing the bug is in place, so I put the bug there. And then he tells him the bug is there at the aquarium, wasn't it?
No, he tells him actually at the apartment.
He tells him at the apartment, okay. So again, it's the whole, pardon misleads, or the whole, no one thinks he's going to go to the effort of unplugging the plug sockets.
Or it's that Deep Throat knows he's taking a risk, but it's not so big a risk.
Yeah.
You know he's got this degree of untouchableness because he does just dismiss all those armed guards that are presumably there to kill Mulder.
Well, yeah, we've got that authority thing, like the section chief of the FBI, who knows full well who he is.
It's the mole in Ghost in the Machine as well, kind of infers that this organisation is interlinked with the FBI as well.
Yeah.
That they pay their check.
Do you have anything else for this episode?
No, I think you've touched on everything.
Okay, so I think you've unfortunately got to do 2 episodes worth.
Kim's Conspiracy Corner.
Okay, Kim's Conspiracy Corner is a bit different this week because we haven't really found out much new. It's just kind of linking some threads and building on what we knew already.
Yeah.
So, Young at Heart kind of builds on what we've already learnt in Ghost in the Machine, that the government is ruthless when it comes to the acquisition of new technologies, be it computer technologies, weapons, or medical. They will do anything in their power to achieve it, and they are not above kind of playing dirty to do so. So in the case of Ghost in the Machine, we saw that they will spirit away and threaten the creator if they get control of the machine. In Young at Heart, we see that they will make deals with serial killers and literally grant immunity to someone who has killed dozens of other people if it means that they can get hold of the technology they want to. So this is not the kind of nice aspect of the government. This is a shadowy thing that the US populace at large is unaware of is going on behind the closed doors.
Again, it's Operation Paperclip is your probably biggest real life equivalent.
Yeah, would you like to explain Operation Paperclip? You keep name dropping it.
Sorry, I'm trying to remember what they did. Operation Paperclip was amnesty for certain Nazi scientists after World War II, including Werner von Braun,
yep.
to help with the space race and everything. So it was basically people who were in and around the Nazi war machine were given immunity and allowed to come to America and continue their research despite all the unethical things they may have done, practiced, or been aligned with in the past.
Very good. In E.B.E, we see once again that the US government, and indeed we discover now various governments around the world have a pact with regards to this, have certain protocols in place to deal with extraterrestrials if they come to Earth. This is in particular in Fallen Angel, we saw what happens if a ship goes down and the kind of cleanup protocol they have. In this one, we see more what happens if there is a survivor and how they will deal with it. So the cold pact between the different major nations of the world is that whichever nation get hold of it will kill it. We see also the lengths that the government will go to silence people who are involved, be it from outright threats or violence, or from just simply bugging people that they know to be dangerous so they can keep an eye on them for later. We also kind of see how much Mulder's informant Deep Throat is kind of starting to be entwined in this conspiracy. We still don't know exactly his identity, we don't know his name or who he works from, but we get a better indication of the power that he holds, even what the power he has over Mulder, because it becomes quite clear that whereas Mulder has trusted him implicitly to this point, he is feeding Mulder information when it suits him, and he is playing a bigger game that we can't see yet.
Cool. You've also made me realise, sorry, just to add to the conspiracy, the proclamation that Deep Throat mentions is living aliens.
Yeah, it's specifically living.
It's specifically living. So the US government have, in the past, possibly from Roswell, and certainly now, have a dead alien that Christ knows what you can do with the biology from another world.
Maybe it's something they'll go into later.
Maybe it is. Let's find out.
They don't specifically mention how they dispose of them, no. And again, us as viewers, we don't know what kind of form these aliens take.
Yeah, I was thinking initially that it would be incineration, given that good cover of the power plant is it's burning things all the time, but then it's a hydroelectric plant, so it's not burning anything at all.
No.
Which actually makes that... So, presumably the body isn't been incinerated, it's been whisked away and something being done with it.
You've there's some kind of protocol, you know, even when they bring rocks back from the moon, there's quarantine procedures and stuff like that.
Yes. So put it in the back of a truck, drive it across the country, it'll be fine.
However long it's in that truck for.
However long it's in the truck for. It's in that truck for... It was in that truck at one point, though. At the start of the episode.
I've got something else to add to the Conspiracy Corner. We also learn in this episode, probably carrying on mostly from Deep Throat, where we saw this previously, is that the government actually have a lot of technology we don't know about. To the degree of they are making planes, particularly military-grade ones, out of UFO technology, and do possess a number of kind of technologies that either mimic or otherwise emulate alien technologies. We see from this episode that they are capable of, at the very least, teleportation, but also possibly some of the other kind of effects that aliens can do. I'm going for teleportation here. If you believe Nick and believe there was ever an alien in the back of that ship, which I doubt.
No, the alien was definitely in the back of the truck. He just might not have been in the back of the truck at that point in time.
Yeah, which means that the government do not have teleportation. If it's in that truck, they do.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll accept that at the point in time they get to the truck after Las Vegas, it's no longer in there. If you would like to get in touch, our email is thingsargettingstrange42@gmail.com.
We are also available on most social media. On Twitter and Tumblr, our username is GetStrange42. On Mastodon, it is at GetStrange42@universidon.com. And on Facebook, you can just find us by searching for Things Are Getting Strange and X-Files Rewatch Podcast.
Our theme music is Envision by Kevin MacLeod, which you can find on incompetech.com. It is licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Thank you for listening, and until next week,
resist or serve.
That is probably the least comprehensible of them so far.